Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. I am joined by Sister Maris Stella of the Sisters of Life based out of New York. And we are talking about the great effort they are doing in fighting for the life of the unborn. We met at the Catholics at the Shore conference in New Jersey. We're on the Jersey Shore right now. It's been an amazing experience and really blessed to meet you, Sister. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well, and I'm so glad to be here. It's a beautiful conference.
Well, it really has been. I want to ask you, Sister, to share about your mission, the things we were hearing about 2 nights ago. Mm-hmm. I'd love to give you the space to share that with our listeners.
Sure. As Sisters of Life, we believe that every person is sacred, unique, and unrepeatable, and infinitely loved by God. And so those truths are so important for each person to know and integrate into their lives. We know that each person is infinitely loved by God, but we also know that going through this life, it's easy to forget that. And we know that, but we know when people experience being loved for who they are, not for what they can do or produce or achieve, what they look like or how much money they have, but for who they are, people thrive and live in the fullness of life. So we want everyone to know that your life matters and that you have dignity. As Sisters of Life, our first work is prayer. Mm-hmm. So we pray several hours a day and receive God's love and then pour it out into the world. And as a religious community, we make the traditional vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And we also make a fourth vow to protect human life. Mm-hmm. And so all of our apostolates are centered on that, proclaiming the dignity of the human person and building a culture of life. So we have a convent where pregnant women live with us, women who are pregnant and tempted to abortion. We surround them with love and support and help them to receive the gift of their own life so that they can choose life for their children. And then we also speak and teach on the message of human dignity. And we also have a very special work of retreats and accompaniment for women who are suffering after the experience of abortion so that they can receive God's mercy and love and live in the fullness of life that God wants for all of us. And as when these women receive God's mercy, it's like watching a resurrection take place. They become powerful witnesses to God's love and mercy and to the dignity of every human life. So that's a little bit of who we are.
It's no surprise to any of our listeners that you're doing this work in one of the hotbeds of policy that attacks and presents an affront to the dignity of the human person. We're also seeing a national push for, they're calling it medical aid in dying. It's nothing more than euthanizing those who can't advocate for themselves. Can you please speak to how your prayer life especially really fuels you forward in bringing the light of Christ into that darkness?
You know, absolutely. We were founded by John Cardinal O'Connor, who was the Archbishop of New York from 1984 until 2000. And he was a prominent figure in the Catholic Church in the United States and in the pro-life movement. He was really a visionary, a prophet, and a leader. Mm-hmm. And he understood that this contempt for human life was a demon in our culture that could only be cast out by prayer and fasting. And so he had this understanding that prayer is essential to this. He said this contempt for human life is a spiritual reality that demands a spiritual response. Mm-hmm. And he envisioned that the response would be women who are dedicated in their entire lives, offering themselves up to God for the sanctity of human life. And he also understood the connection between when human life isn't respected and the unborn are not protected in law and in practice, then everyone is vulnerable. The unborn have no voice, and so we must protect them and speak out for them. But the same is happening now. We see it in our culture for the sick and the elderly and the terminally ill. They too need to be protected, and so that's an important part of our work, praying for that each person's life would be known as sacred and protected.
When I think about especially the pro-life movement, one of the attacks levied against Catholics and against the work that you sisters are doing is what's called the seamless garment argument, that all life issues are equal, inherently equal. That's objectively not true, and the Sisters of Life have put themselves at the forefront of showing that affronts to the right to life are way worse. In other words, abortion, euthanasia, assisted suicide, murder, those are way worse than other issues. Not that the other issues aren't important. Can you please speak to that? Why this particular work is so necessary for reclaiming the humanity of the culture?
Yeah, no, it is essential because when we talk about the unborn, this is innocent human life.
Yep.
And the voiceless and the most vulnerable in society. And so the way we treat the most vulnerable says so much about our society. And so the right to life is the most basic human right. If you don't have the gift of life, if life isn't protected, then there's no need for schools or healthcare or education, any of these things. Life is the most basic issue and the basic fundamental human right.
Now, in your fight, sister, I loved how I was texting my bride while you were talking because we lost some children last year and we were trying to adopt it. It just didn't work out. And thankfully now we're pregnant and expecting again. So we were open to life in one way, didn't expect the Lord to answer that in another way. But it just melted my heart to see the pictures of those children you saved, children that have been saved, and then the twins, and then the two sets of triplets.
Yeah.
It was just compound. It was so beautiful. Can you please share about the joy of that, just seeing those lives brought into the world, and they're going to serve the common good and transform the world?
No, it's amazing when you see it. Yeah, no. So over the years, we were founded in 1991. So for 35 years, we've been proclaiming the dignity of human life. And over that time, we've served thousands of women who are pregnant and in difficult situations. And when they're surrounded by love and care, they choose life. It's the most what women desire, to choose life. They want to be life bearers and give life to others. And so over the years, we've seen thousands of children to come into the world, and now many of them are grown up and have children of their own. And so many babies have been born, and it's beautiful to see. And then these children really become lights to others. We just had a set of twins born at our convent, and they're beautiful children. And it is amazing to see like the power of one human life and the power of a woman's yes. When she says yes to life, what that allows. And so for us, we're continuously meditating on the mystery of the Annunciation when the angel Gabriel goes to Mary and she says yes. And each one of us needs to echo that yes in our lives. All of us, Cardinal O'Connor used to always talk about how all of us need to give God permission in our lives, to give God permission to work in you and through you for the sake of others. And so that's what we try to model and imitate in our own lives, saying yes to God so that he can work in and through us.
What are you seeing in terms of the response of the fathers to the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so many times, men are often taught in our culture to tell women, it's up to you, do whatever you choose, I'll support you no matter what. Yeah,
ceding the moral argument to them.
Yes, and so, but when a woman hears that, it basically says to her, you're all alone. It's all up to you, and I'm not here to support you. What a woman really needs to hear when she's pregnant is from the father of the baby that I'm with you. This is our child. We'll do this together. And that care and protection is so ennobling and so strengthening that when the father of the child is in the picture, so often the woman will be able to choose life. And so we see that. We have men who volunteer with us who are in some ways are able to coach some of the fathers and be mentors for them and support them. And we can see the healing and the restoration of the family.
As a final exhortation, we're down to about the last minute and a half of this segment, sister. People listening right now, I think we underestimate just how much all of this is due to a breakdown of not just human dignity, but how we think about marriage and the structure of marriage and the family. Can you say a word about that and the encouragement to reclaim that?
Yeah, no, the family is the foundational building block of our society. And as sisters, we know that there's a battle for families. And so we live an intense community life so that we can win graces for families where we learn to love one another and forgive one another. And also we live a vow of chastity and we give all of our lives and our loves to God and receive everything from him. And as a way of winning graces and knowing that there's so much unchastity, and so much unchastity is the cause of many sins against human life. And so we hope that our vow of chastity is restorative to our culture and it gives witness that there's things in this world, things in this life that are worth sacrificing for.
Sister, truly thank you very much, not just for being here today, but for your witness, your work, your congregation, and the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
I've been talking with Sister Maris Stella. She is a sister of life. I greatly encourage all of you to look up their information about the congregation. We're going to include that in the description of today's program. And the reason why I say this is because they are in the midst of a fundraiser for a center that they're building in the heart of New York City to minister to young mothers who are in need of precisely the kind of work and effort that they are putting forth, not just for the dignity of the child in the womb, but for the entire family. And most of all, pray for them. Pray for the good work they're doing. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.